The scene opens with Lynn Jones focused intensely on her work at the Marsh conglomerate, striving to maintain a facade of professionalism and independence. This is her status quo, a routine she wants to secure away from the complications of her past. The equilibrium is interrupted when Daniel, the charismatic Capo, approaches her. He leans on her desk and, with deceptive casualness, drops the personal question, "Are you single?" Lynn, composed but internally wary, gives her direct, simple answer, "Yes." This single word acts as the catalyst. At that exact moment, Freeman Marsh, the Alpha King, the powerful owner, emerges from his private office and hears her response. The transition is instantaneous and chilling. Freeman halts, his massive shoulders tense, and his dark, intense eyes narrow, locking onto Lynn with the singular focus of a predator. His body language signals absolute, proprietary fury, making Lynn feel as if she has just walked into a life-altering, dangerous territory. Daniel, realizing the depth of the boss's reaction, leans in to whisper a nervous, confirming taunt. Looks like the king has claimed his territory. Ignoring Daniel entirely, Freeman maintains his lethal stare on Lynn. His deep, rumbling voice issues the final, non-negotiable command that ends the casual part of her life. "Miss Jones, my private meeting room. Now." This command is the definitive start of the conflict, plunging Lynn directly under his jealous, absolute control. Before we continue our story, if you are captivated by the king's claim, Lynn needs your support to survive this danger. Drop a comment below right now and tell us which chapter made your heart race the fastest. Was it the possessive, "You're mine," or the defiant, "We walk out together"? Because this kind of forbidden love and fierce protection deserves to dominate the trends. Hit that like button if you believe in an alpha king claiming his queen, and may every relationship in your life be blessed with this kind of loyalty and passion. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell, because the algorithm needs to push this intense, protective love story to every single reader who loves a powerful, possessive mafia boss. Let's make this story go viral and show the world what true, consuming love looks like. Chapter 1. The Alpha's Claim. Lynn followed Freeman Marsh into the sterile, imposing silence of his private meeting room. The expensive cologne and the raw, unbridled fury radiating off the Alpha King's massive frame were suffocating. She stood before him, her professionalism the only thing keeping her steady as he slammed the door shut, the sound echoing the tension in the room. He didn't address her initial question. Instead, he stepped closer, forcing her to tilt her head back to meet his dark, storm-filled eyes. "Your personal life," he ground out, his voice a low, dangerous rumble, "is not a subject for casual office discussion. You will only speak to me about personal matters." It was a decree, not a request. He didn't wait for her protest. His large hand gripped the back of the heavy chair, pulling it out and pushing it far too close to her. As he did, the brief, scorching brush of his knuckles against the sensitive skin of her arm sent a shockwave through her. She felt claimed, branded, just from that single, accidental touch. As she numbly sank into the chair, the muffled but unmistakable voice of Daniel floated in from the hall, loud enough to cut through the door. "Careful, King. Don't you know being a caveman went out of style centuries ago?" Chapter 2. Interrupted Desire. The heavy meeting room door clicked shut, the final sound muffling the capo's laughter. Freeman turned back to Lynn, the storm still visible behind his eyes, but now tinged with a grudging respect. "You handled the Blackwood contracts well this morning," he admitted, the words sounding like they were dragged from him. "Your efficiency is notable." But that brief moment of professional approval was immediately followed by a new, more rigid command. He planted his fists on the table, leaning over her with intimidating power. "However, I need you where I can see you. You are to remain within the immediate vicinity of my office. All your assignments will be run through me directly. Is that clear?" Before Lin could process the increased confinement, there was a sharp, familiar rap on the door. Daniel let himself in without waiting, a triumphant smirk playing on his lips. "Just checking on our new addition, King. Heard you had her locked in here." He winked at Lin. "Did he tell you yet how much he enjoys the quiet company of a beautiful woman?" Freeman's jaw tightened, the control he'd just regained fracturing entirely. A low, guttural sound, closer to a snarl than a word, ripped from his chest. His voice was cold steel. "Get out now, Daniel." The capo simply grinned, offered Lin a mocking salute, and retreated, leaving the atmosphere thick with frustrated desire and undeniable, jealous command.
Chapter 3. Hidden Danger.
Lin tried to focus on the spreadsheets, the figures blurring as the powerful, silent presence of Freeman Marsh consumed the entire office space. For a fleeting second, the Alpha King's rigid control slipped. She watched him open a locked drawer and briefly stare at something small, an antique silver pendant, before he snapped the drawer shut, the intense, private memory passing quickly across his harsh features. Hours bled into each other. He deliberately kept her late, insisting on a final audit that could have waited until morning. When he finally took a phone call in his office, Lin stood by the water cooler, catching fragmented, ice-cold words through the mahogany door. "No, I won't let her be leverage," I swore. The promise hung in the air, ominous and heavy. When he emerged, his expression was hardened into granite, the storm in his eyes now clearly aimed at an outside threat. He crossed the distance between them in 2 purposeful strides. "It's time you understood why you are confined here, Miss Jones. It's not about contracts." He leaned down, his face a chilling mask of grim determination. "People are watching this building, the wrong people. The Stark Syndicate is escalating its activities. They see proximity as weakness, as a potential attack point. You are no longer just an assistant," he stated, the possessiveness deadly serious. "You are now a liability." Chapter 4. Stay Close. The realization that she was a liability, a weakness he was forced to manage, stung Lin's pride. She stood tall, refusing to flinch. "I don't understand," she challenged, her voice low but steady. "Why me? Why go to this length? I'm an assistant, not a treasure to be guarded." Freeman's eyes blazed, the raw emotion in them stripping away the facade of the Alpha King. He didn't answer with logic or business talk, he reacted. His hand shot out, not painfully but with absolute finality, gripping her wrist. The fierce intensity of his touch made her gasp. "Because you belong here," he growled, the words a primal claim that vibrated through her bones. Releasing her wrist, he stepped back, but the rules he set were ironclad. "From this moment forward, you will stay close to me at all times. My sight line, my protection. You do not leave the floor without my explicit approval."
No unnecessary risks.
Lin swallowed, feeling the invisible cage tighten around her. As she retreated toward her desk, she heard a faint, cynical whisper from the doorway where Daniel was watching. "There goes the king," confirming his possessive obsession. The words cemented her fear. Freeman's protection wasn't selfless. It was a form of ownership. Chapter 5. The Growing Threat. The increased tension in the Marsh conglomerate office was a physical weight, pressing down on Lin. Freeman's every movement was stiff, his face etched with a deeper, more dangerous shadow than before. He kept her running nonstop, but always within the orbit of his fortress-like office, often snapping short, urgent demands for her to stay nearby due to heightened security alerts. It felt less like a job and more like a high-security lockdown orchestrated by a man terrified of losing his control. She watched him nervously pace his window, dialing and dismissing calls, his whispered orders laced with increasing impatience. Then, the true nature of the threat arrived. A door opened, and a key, grim-faced associate, clearly a top-ranking member of Freeman's inner circle, entered the private room, his voice dropping to a serious undertone. The associate confirmed the latest intel. The syndicate is escalating, King. They are digging. We've intercepted chatter focused entirely on a specific profile, a white lady with connections to the old incident.
They know she's close to you.
Lynn's blood ran cold. The threat was no longer generic. It was aimed directly at the woman sitting mere feet from the window. Freeman's head whipped around, his gaze stabbing into her. The cold fury vanished, replaced by a desperate, possessive fear. Chapter 6: The Confession of Need. Freeman found Lynn near the research terminal, his face a mask of strained fury. He gripped her arm, pulling her against the cool marble of the wall. "The passive threat is over," he growled, revealing the latest intel, his breath hot against her ear. "The questioning has become specific. Someone asked about the name Jones." He didn't give her time to process the chilling news, immediately escorting her down to the underground private dining facility, a chamber of stark white marble, heavy steel, and absolute silence. During the sterile meal, he didn't touch his food, his dark eyes never leaving her face. The pressure of his stare forced the truth from him. "You think I'm just watching for threats? When you take a water break, when you walk the halls, I know where you are. I have known since day one. I admit it, Lynn. I was following you." She could only stare, breathless, at the admission of surveillance. He pushed his chair back, closing the distance across the table in a sudden, raw movement. "You think this is purely protection? It's not. It's torture. I'm fighting a leash you keep tightening. My ironclad need to control this operation, and my furious, unrelenting desire for you are at war. It's breaking my control." He reached across the small space, his calloused fingers tracing the fragile line of her jaw, tilting her face up. Her heart hammered against her ribs as his lips descended, heavy and demanding, promising relief and ruin. Then, a sharp, insistent double rap on the heavy steel door shattered the moment, yanking him back to reality with a visible shudder of frustration. Chapter 7: The Vow Revealed. The door burst open, and Daniel stormed in, his usual playful demeanor replaced by a look of grim, urgent concern. "King, the problem isn't the present. It's about her past." He tossed a discreetly folded newspaper clipping onto the heavy, chilled table. Freeman instantly snatched it up, his eyes scanning the blurred text. As he read, his expression shifted from cold anger to a realization that was both devastating and confirming. He tossed the paper down, looking at Lynn with a newfound, terrifying clarity. He finally spoke, the truth heavy in the sterile room. Years ago, the Stark Syndicate was nearly brought down by leaked information, insider secrets. The man who risked everything to expose them was hunted, but he begged me to protect his wife and child. I gave my word that day. Freeman's voice dropped to a near whisper, vibrating with the weight of an old oath. The daughter's last name was Jones. I took you in, not because of an empty assistant position, but because I remembered the name during your interview. I've been silently honoring a promise. Lynn swayed, processing the terrifying revelation. Her professional life was a calculated fortress built by the man standing before her. Freeman stepped close, his fierce gaze unwavering. He had been protecting her all along, and the shocking discovery confirmed his current terror. He finally realized the woman he was ruthlessly claiming was the same child he had promised to protect a lifetime ago. Chapter 8: I Can't Lose You. Lynn's fear melted away, replaced by a fierce, startling resolve. Looking into Freeman's storm-filled eyes, she shook her head slowly. "I'm not running from this world or from you. The danger is what it is. I choose you, Freeman." Her simple declaration visibly eased the tense lines around his mouth. Hours later, she stood at his side under the blinding, crystal lights of a high-profile gala. Freeman's presence was a cage of muscle and unwavering intensity, his large hand a constant, scorching weight on the small of her back, a very public, very definitive claim. He guided her into a secluded alcove, his expression grim. He looked at her then, stripping away the Alpha King facade until only the desperate man remained. He gripped her face, his thumb stroking her cheekbone. I don't care what the cost is now or what happens next. You broke my control, Lin. I just know I can't lose you. You're mine. She surrendered to the intensity, meeting him halfway as his lips finally crashed down on hers, a devastating, consuming kiss that promised both protection and ruin. In that breathless moment of absolute union, a frantic noise cut through the music. Daniel, pale and wild-eyed, slammed into the alcove.
King.
It's over. The syndicate just won. They leaked the information linking the Jones family to the betrayal. Everyone knows. Chapter 9. The King's Claim. The gala's lights seemed to spin around Lin as Daniel's frantic words hung in the air, the beautiful music dissolving into a terrifying, stunned silence. Freeman reacted instantly, pulling her against his iron chest, his arms becoming a desperate, protective cage. Look at me, Lin. He forced her chin up, his eyes burning with an intense, unwavering resolve. I swore an oath. I would protect you no matter the cost, and that vow holds now more than ever. The Alpha King returned, his control absolute, but it was centered entirely on her safety. They want to use this public reveal to flush you out, but I won't hide you. They already know you're mine. His grip on her hand tightened, his voice a lethal promise. We walk out together. With a terrifying, magnetic certainty, they strode out of the alcove. The entire ballroom, hundreds of powerful, predatory eyes, fell into stunned silence, fixed on the man claiming the woman whose family name was now whispered history. Freeman didn't waver. He walked past the shocked syndicate watchers and rivals, his jaw set like stone, his claim indisputable and final. Hours later, the chaos was a distant memory, replaced by the hushed luxury of his estate. He turned her to face him, the intensity in his eyes softening into something profound. You are not going back to the apartment, Lin Jones. I promised your father's safety, and now I promise you devotion. His thumb gently swept her cheek. Move in. Not as my assistant, not as a duty. As the woman I love. As my queen. He pulled her into his embrace, sealing their future in the fiercely protected, devoted heart of his empire.